Hello beautiful friends! Today I'm doing my June reading wrap up. It was a very interesting month. A lot was going on in my personal life, but we did have some good reading, so I'm really excited to share what I read this month. I am, per usual, going to separate this video into genres. So most of the cozy mysteries I read were part of this bookish cozy mystery vlog I did. I'm so proud of how that vlog turned out. We did like a Barnes & Noble shopping trip, lots of bookish activities, I'll link it above. But one that wasn't part of that I really enjoyed was By Book or By Crook, which is the first in the Lighthouse Library Mystery Series. I checked it out for my library. I'm just covering up the name if you see those on any of the books. This was adorable. Several of you had recommended this to me, and thank you for doing so. This was so cute. The cat's name is Charles, after Charles Dickens. Our main character is Lucy. She's returning to the Outer Banks where her aunt lives after leaving Boston, which is where her family is at, but she's just not feeling connected for various reasons. She's leaving like a fiance, a lot of messy drama with the family, but she's always felt very at home at the Outer Banks and with her aunt, and her aunt Bertie runs the Lighthouse Library, so she gets Lucy a job there because she's super qualified as a librarian. And they're actually doing this Jane Austen exhibit with these like priceless first editions, and one of the books is stolen, a murder happens, lots of drama. I loved this. I liked learning more about Jane Austen and her books. I didn't realize the order they were published in. That was super interesting. I love Charles the cat. Come on. How cute. And I learned, I believe he's a Himalayan cat, they said. So adorable, so cute. I just love this. The only critique I have of the series, and I'm hoping this won't last very long into the series because I think there's at least like 9 books or something out in the series, is there's a love triangle, at least in the first book. I'm hoping that that will be resolved quickly. So some other bookish, I think almost every cozy mystery I read this month was bookish, so just how the cookie crumbled. We have a novel, Murder, Secrets of the Castleton Manor Library by Elizabeth Penny. This is darling. This is part of the Annie's Fictions series, so each book is actually written by a different author, which is very interesting, but I very much enjoyed this book. So our main character is Faith Newberry, and she's been recently hired as a librarian at this Castleton Manor, and they actually have like these super rare editions of books, and she actually realizes that one of them is a counterfeit. Lots of Sherlock Holmes themes in this, which is excellent. And then if you like cats, I thought this was so adorable, but there would be these little like paw print sections here, and they would just be this short little excerpt from the cat's perspective, usually when the cat maybe came across something suspicious like a clue. And I just loved that. I thought that was such a fun little tidbit. I thought this was really fast-paced. The plot was solid. I thought it was just fun, super charming, super cozy. This was like a good like 4 stars or so for me, so I'm definitely wanting to find more from the series. And it's just so beautiful with I love the bookmark. I love the look of it. It's just so cute. So I definitely want to read more of that. How to Book a Murder. We have a Starlight Bookshop mystery by Cynthia Cunn. This is the first book in this series. There are currently, I think, 2 out with a 3rd on the way. I adored this. I think out of all the books that I read for my bookish cozy mystery vlog, and I did end up liking all of them, as you're gonna see in this reading wrap up, I think this one might be my favorite. It's really hard. There were so many good ones, but this one might be my most favorite. They actually have a cat named Anne Shirley, which I thought was just so clever and darling because the cat's hair is orange, and yeah. So there's 2 sisters in this one, and they are working together to save their family's bookshop, and their aunt Nora is actually a famous mystery writer, and she helps to financially back the store and sometimes works there as well. Our main character is coming in, and she wants to work as a literary event planner there to help increase their financial, you know, just their profits and stuff. And so they end up doing like a masquerade like murder party. There's like an Edgar Allan Poe party for like a very eccentric author later in the book, and something happens at the murder mystery dinner, and I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun. The themes for this were top notch. The conclusion actually caught me off guard, and I just really enjoyed the vibe of this. This was the first book I read for the Bookish Cozy vlog, just because I was so excited for it, and it really delivered. I can't wait to get into the next. Oh, I lied. There was one non-bookish cozy mystery, so I did return this to my library. It's called Threads of Evidence by Leah Waite. This is the second in the Mainly Needlepoint mystery series. This series is quickly becoming a fast favorite. The mysteries are really well thought out, more intricate than I think your typical cozy. I really, really enjoy the main character. Her name is escaping me at the moment, but she actually lived in Arizona for a while and worked underneath like a private investigator, so she has like a little bit of a background in it, but she's moved back to Maine with her grandmother, which sells me right there. I love a good like grandmother or grandparent relationship in a book. I just have always had a soft spot for grandparents, so for me I always love that. There are 2 cats in this book as well, and they're really cute. They're the grandparents or grandma's cat. But in this book, there's basically this estate that's like crumbling. It's like a Victorian mansion called Aurora, and it's kind of crumbling down because no one's lived there for years, because there had been this wealthy family that had lived there, but tragically their young daughter had died in like an accident years ago. Well, a famous actress ends up purchasing Aurora, and she and her son come out and are renovating it, and they end up hiring her main character and one of her friends who's like an antiques dealer to like help them like revamp this place quickly and to like look at some of the old needlepoint stuff. And they're evaluating stuff, and they find out that there might have actually been a murder that killed the daughter many years ago. So I found this to be such a good mystery. The ending for this, I was so convinced. I like had the who, and then something shocked me. Like there was an addition to the who, and like that really added some more like depth and layer to it, and I was stunned. Like I actually was sitting there just like, really? Didn't see it coming. It was great. I can't wait to get more. I think this book is especially well suited to winter and like the fall, I would say, with the main setting, but this book did take place during the summer, which was really fun. So I can't wait to dive more into the series. I've read 3 books from it, and it's just been a knockout each time. Another one I loved this month, we have a very heavy water, beachy and like bookish theme this month, is Smile Beach Murder by Alicia Bassett. This is an Outer Banks bookshop mystery. I adore the covers in this series. There's currently 1 more out. It's something like Murder on Mustang Beach or something, and it's got a really cool cover too. The color scheme on this, I love it. It's so unique and daring, and I love it. So our main character in this is Callie. She is a former reporter. Unfortunately, she's laid off, and so she returns home where her uncle, who like raised her, is living at the Outer Banks, and she ends up getting a job at the local bookshop because she's just trying to scrape by, and she's just really feeling lost in life. And the anniversary of her mother's death is also approaching. Her mother died many years ago when she was a child. Basically, I think she had like jumped from a lighthouse in the area, and of course that's just really hard for her to process, but so of course at the anniversary of her death is always a hard one, but unfortunately a young woman in the area dies under similar circumstances almost exactly on the anniversary date of her mother's death, and that's when Callie, with her reporter instincts, gets very curious. Also, there is a cat in this. The cat's name is Tin Man, and the cat has an Instagram. That's all I'm gonna say. It's adorable. I loved it. I was like, okay, that's solid. I don't think my library is the next book, so I'm adding it to my want to buy list because I'm just loving this series. It was so cute. I really flew through it. I thought the mystery was great. I thought the characters were great. It's definitely it's a cozy mystery, but it's a little less lighthearted than some. There's definitely some darker themes to it, I would say, especially when the main character is questioning, you know, her mother's state of mind and stuff before her death. So just know that going in. It's definitely still a cozy mystery, but I just wanted to put that out there. Then we have Murder by the Seashore. This is a California bookshop mystery by Samara Yu. This was the first in the series as well. Like I said, I read a bunch of new series, or at least new ones to me, and it's just as charming as this cover. Absolutely fantastic. This is the only book out in this series currently, so it is a very new series. And our main character in this is Scarlett. She is pursuing her dream of opening a beach read like bookshop on the beach. So like she stocks like romances, thrillers, you know, more like fun reads that most people would go to for like a vacation read. She's right on the beach, and I love her employee. Her employee is actually married to, I think her name is Gloria. Her employee is actually married to the local detective, which adds some interesting tension after Scarlett finds a body of a customer she had seen recently near her shop, and then she's one of the suspects. So that's kind of the basic premise. Again, absolutely so charming, perfect for the summertime. As you can see, I really went hard with the beachy themed bookish cozies mostly this month, but all of these were just so much fun. Then this one is, so this is a young adult mystery, but it's also very cozy, and this is the Jane Austen murder mystery Sense and Second Degree Murder by Tizar Price. This is the second book in the series. I'm buddy reading this series with my friend Maddie from This Bookish Cottage. She's wonderful, and we both loved this. Absolutely loved this. I actually think we both liked this book more than book one, which is Pride and Premeditation, and we loved book one. So this is loosely based on the characters of Sense and Sensibility. I can't speak to that as much because I've only read Pride and Prejudice, so these were like basically new characters to me, but they are young adults to like late teens, the sisters are, and basically they find their father dead. He has supposedly died of a heart attack, but they're not convinced otherwise. One of the sisters is very interested in science. Another one of the Dashwood women is interested in being a detective. They kind of pool their skills, especially after they're kicked out of their family home when their brother takes over the estate, and their nasty like sister-in-law like really basically puts them out. Like they give them a small allowance, but they're basically like reducing them to a very small home, and it's sad. So they're investigating their father's death basically, and I just love this. It was a really quick read. It's young adult, it's very fun, it's lighthearted. I think this is so fun. There's only one more out in the series. I'm not sure if it's completed or if that's just the latest book. If you know, let me know. But I think this is a really fun series, especially if you like some historical fiction, if you're a fan of Jane Austen, if you like young adult mysteries. I think this was fun. And I'm gonna read this because I know I'm gonna mess up the name otherwise. So it's The Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwa. And this is the first book in the series. I didn't realize it was a series, and I'm really excited because I think my library's book too. And this is a Japanese bestseller about a father-daughter duo who run the Kamigawa Diner, and it's not, I want to preface, it's very cozy, but it's not like a classic mystery, like there's no murders. Basically, the father-daughter duo, the father is a retired detective, and he will help people recreate these dishes, like food dishes from their past. So it's a very nostalgic like book, all about like how food and like memories connect, and just it's a very emotional because a lot of people who come to him, they're looking for closure in one way or another, and they want to like eat this like childhood dish that was really popular and like that they ate with like their grandparents, or you know, something like that, for like kind of an emotional closure. And it was a collection of short stories. There were 6 in this book, so it was a very quick read. It was super heartwarming. I was like reading 1 or 2 a day like before picking up a novel, and such a heartwarming tale. I loved seeing the characters just get to like have this closure in one way or another and just get to grow with the food. I loved the descriptions of the food. I did have to look up some food terms because I'm not as familiar with like traditional Japanese cuisine, and that's what a lot of the food was, so keep that in mind. You might have to be googling some things unless you're really familiar with it, but it was just so amazing. And there is a cute cat, as the cover suggests, and their name is Drowsy. This is a translation, so I'm not sure quite. I think Drowsy is kind of an interesting name, like translated into English. I'm curious how it reads more in Japanese, but I found this to be such a heartwarming tale. If you liked Miss Quinn's Rise to Fame like I did, which was very sentimental about connecting to the past with food, I think you would really like this. Okay, then I have 2 just kind of general mystery novels. So one is In the Ballroom with the Candlestick, a Clue mystery by Diana Peterfront. This is the 3rd and final in the Clue mystery trilogy. This one is a young adult mystery. It's fairly cozy overall. I will say this last book did have kind of a romantic scene that surprised me. It was a little more detailed than I would expect from young adult, but I don't read enough young adult to know if that's abnormal, so I don't know. But that's why I'm putting it in the mystery. But I did really enjoy this. I think it was a solid conclusion. I feel like you'll either love or hate how this book ends. I personally loved it because it was a great ode to some of the classic Clue board games and movies and different like things that have come out in the past. I personally loved it. I saw some people on Goodreads just absolutely did not like it. So let me know if you read this, what you thought of the conclusion. I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. But overall, I think this was a really fun, satisfying ending to the book. I loved it. It takes place where everyone's leading up to prom, so it definitely feels like a very fitting time of year to read this. Like, I would say spring and summer, because that's when I associate like prom. And I just like this. I love the reimagined Clue characters. I think it was really fun. And yeah, overall I think this was a really fun read. I really enjoyed it, and if you are someone like me who loves the Clue movie, the Clue board game, if you like kind of a, you know, more lighthearted young adult quick like mystery, this was a really good one. The other one that I read this month, this one was an early release arc that was sent to me by the publisher, so thank you for that. This one goes on sale in July on the 23rd, and it's called Echoes of Memory by Sarah Driscoll. So this one is compared on the back to Memento by Karen Slaughter or Megan Golden's Stay Awake. And I haven't read the book by Karen Slaughter, but I have read Stay Awake by Megan Golden, and I can definitely see the comparison there. This is definitely more of a slow burn. I thought it was a thriller. I think it's more mystery thriller, so keep that in mind. With that said though, I really enjoyed this. The main character is Quinn. She is a San Diego florist, and she has a very unique predicament. She was attacked months before the story starts, and she's grappling with post-traumatic amnesia, and you can really tell the author put a lot of time into the research and really, you know, I'm not a doctor, I don't have experience with that, but from what I could tell, like, the research was really put into it to make that as accurate as possible. And I liked Quinn as a character. I think she was fleshed out, but basically she can only remember things for a few minutes because of this amnesia. So she has all of her memories from before the event, so she knows who she is, she knows like how to do her job, things like that, but she doesn't have like a working memory for short-term memory, so she ends up forgetting things. And what happens is she ends up witnessing a murder, and she's the only witness, and she tries to take down notes as much as she can to tell the police, but they're kind of skeptical of it, except for one detective who takes her seriously, and Quinn is trying to piece together her memories before it's too late, basically. So I really enjoyed this. I flew through it. It's just over 300 pages, a really fast read. If you did like Stay Awake by Megan Golden, I think that was a good comparison. I think you would enjoy the premise for this as well. Like I said, a little more slow burn than a typical thriller, but definitely like a solid mystery thriller. I had a good time with this, so definitely recommend that. Okay, so we are now on to thrillers. The one that surprised me the most, I'm so excited to say, and I hauled this in my Barnes & Noble haul. I was so nervous because I've read one book by this author before, and it was like a 2-star, 2.5, and that was 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. I just didn't love it. I feel like the ending was really weak and predictable. I just didn't care for it. But I was so intrigued by her book, The Trap, which came out last year, and my library never got it. I tried to request it, it was denied, so I finally picked it up at Barnes & Noble, and I was really hoping I'd like it because it's like $15 some, and I loved this. I ate this up. I flew through this in one day. I was so absolutely captivated, and I'm so excited for that. And some of you have told me that you really like The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, which I believe my library does have, so I'm gonna try to get my hands on that next. This was a 5-star, like absolutely. Like, I sat down, and when I finished this, my jaw was on the floor. Like, so, I mean, several times throughout the book. This one threw me. I was completely like off kilter the whole time. There's such a strong sense, like it's truly a thriller. Like, you are on edge from the first chapter. The first chapter, if you've read this, you know what I mean. Ooh, okay. So anyways, so our basic storyline, we have a couple different points of views we're following. We have our main one, I would say, is Lucy, and her sister Nikki had gone out like a year ago to a pub, and when she was like walking to her bus stop, she's gone. Like, someone, you know, she was probably kidnapped, maybe she was, you know, foul play was involved. Lucy doesn't know. She doesn't have answers, but she's also the third missing Irish woman within a short span of time. And she's also very frustrated because her sister's not getting the same media attention because she's being branded as like a bad girl, you know, like what was she wearing? Oh, she was drinking, where some of the other women who've been taken were like good girls. I don't know how else to put that, but you know what I mean. The media, unfortunately, is branding her in that way. So Lucy is determined to find out what happened to Nikki. Then we have Angela, and she works for like the Irish Garda, like the police force, but she's a pencil pusher. She's just kind of there, but she gets the chance to prove herself and to maybe start to like unravel the threads of this case with these missing women, and this is her chance to prove herself. And then the third point of view is actually a man talking to his latest victim who's in the backseat of his car and telling them everything. Absolutely, this one sends goosebumps up me just looking at this cover. Like, I just feel so tense. This was such a good thriller. I strongly recommend that. I absolutely loved it. Another one I got to this month, I hauled this in a little free library vlog, I'll link it above, and so many of you commented saying, oh, that's a good book, like you need to read that. This book and Where the Crawdads Sing were the ones that I remember everyone saying, oh, read that next. But Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I don't even know where to start with this book. This is such a dark psychological thriller. So the premise is the perfect marriage or the perfect lie. As with all thrillers, I would recommend looking up trigger warnings. This one is heavily lots of abuse, lots of like domestic abuse, so keep that in mind. But we have our main characters, Jack and Grace, and they are the perfect couple. You know, they're both like a Ken and Barbie doll. Everyone like is kind of envious of them. They got the perfect home. They got, you know, she's got the perfect figure and she's a great cook and he works a high profile job as an attorney, and you know, all that. They look like the golden couple to everyone around them. But the two of them are inseparable, and in fact it seems that Grace really doesn't have autonomy. She can't go anywhere. It seems like she's always canceling plans. It seems like she makes these delicious meals, but she's really not eating much. And people start to get a little concerned, and you're learning about what actually happens behind closed doors. I don't know if I'll say that the ending was shocking, but just the intensity of the entire book and the pacing was what got me. And there's the scenes from like their honeymoon. Oh my goodness, if you know, you know, I was just like sitting there, I was like, okay. So definitely very dark, very twisty, very intense. This book will make you mad. It will really, really make you mad, but it is a great thriller. So I definitely recommend checking this out if that sounds like something that'd be up your alley. So this one is called The Block Party by Jamie Day. You'll die if you miss it. And I checked this out from my library. This was my one DNF this month. I couldn't get into this. Our main character in this we're following is Alex. We do jump around a bit, but Alex is kind of the primary point of view, and she is one of the moms on this like beautiful neighborhood. It's like the neighborhood everyone envies, and every year they do an annual block party, and it's the party that you die if you miss it. Well, we go into this book at the very beginning and we learn that the previous year at the block party someone dies. And we're kind of going back and forth between what was leading up to that block party and like present day at the current block party. I was just so bored with this. It didn't feel thrilling whatsoever. And then the main character, Alex, I found her to be completely insufferable, if I'm being honest. Like, she was so whiny and annoying, and I couldn't stand it. So between the very slow pacing, not much feeling like it really happened, and then Alex just being such an annoying character, there wasn't anything I was like holding on to. So I ended up DNFing this, I think around 70 pages. I just couldn't do it, so this one was not a hit for me personally. This next one is kind of insane. I will say I think the ending was a little out there, but it was just fun. And I think if you're looking for a summer thriller, this is a great choice. It's called You Can Trust Me by Kirsten Moglin. For two happy couples, the cruise of a lifetime may cost their lives. So this is the front cover. I had snagged this at Goodwill. So our main character in this is May, and she makes an annual trip to the beach, but it's not a happy trip for her. It's like an anniversary of someone's death, and it's just a really hard time for her. Well, her husband and best friend go with her, and the best friend's like boyfriend, and they decide to surprise her with a cruise. And she feels bad because she feels like this should be exciting, you know, how nice they surprised her with this, like this, you know, a dream vacation, right? Well, she goes along with it, she gets on the boat, and then there's this mysterious stranger that kind of throws a wrench in everyone's plan. And fortunately, tragedy does strike, and then the friends are scrambling to find out what happened with the tragedy. The ending for this was interesting. I will say the last chapter I actually like gasped for a moment. Maybe I should have seen that coming. Some of the other stuff I was like, okay, maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but I just had fun with this. I just read it really quickly. It was fun. It was bingeable. I'd say like a 3.5. It's nothing that's like my favorite thriller of all time, but if you're looking for like a cruise thriller, a summary thriller, I think this was just entertaining, so I wanted to include that. Then I was on a reading sprint recently, and some people were saying that they loved Final Girls by Riley Sager, which is one I haven't read, so I decided to grab it from the library, and I liked this. I think overall this was good. I'm gonna say like 4 stars. So essentially our main character is Quincy, and about 10 years ago when she was in college, she went to this cabin with some friends. You know, they were partying, they were living it up, and unfortunately out of her group of friends, she was the only survivor, aka the Final Girls, because someone came and attacked the people at the cabin. Then she ends up kind of being looped into this group of other Final Girls. There's 2 other Final Girls, Lisa and Sam, who both have been through tragic situations where, again, they were the only survivor for like a mass killing of some types. And so we have a situation then where one of those girls ends up taking her own life, and then the other one shows up on Quincy's doorstep and disturbs the life she's managed to kind of put together for herself. And it seems like the last Final Girl who does show up on her doorstep is just determined to kind of blow up the life she's finally put together for herself. You know, she's got a fiance, she's got a baking business, she's finally feeling happy, even if it's with the help of some prescriptions. Like, she's, you know, she's in a better place considering, and it seems like this last girl is just determined to kind of be a whirlwind and chaos through her life, and then kind of help her discover what actually happened all these years ago and what happened to the other girl and stuff like that. So I think this was good. I think it was interesting. I don't think it's my favorite Riley Sager. My favorites are Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark, I would say. But this one is definitely a solid thriller. If the you know, premise sounds good to you, I had a good time. I blew through it really quickly. It was definitely a page turner. And then last but not least, we have The Marriage Lie by Kimberly Bell. I'm conflicted with this. I don't know how to rate. I'm like maybe a 3 to 3.5 if I'm being generous. This is the cover. For starters, I want to say that if you are going to travel on a plane anywhere in the near future, or if like loved ones are traveling on a plane in the near future, don't read this, because this one involves a plane crash and it goes into lots of details. So if you are planning to be on a plane soon, don't. This is not a good read for the plane. Don't do it. So we have our main characters, Iris and Will, and they have been married for 7 years. They're just in love. They're just such a happy couple. And unfortunately, Will leaves for a business trip, and he's supposed to be going one place, but Iris gets a call that he's been in a plane crash and died, and he was on a plane to the other side of the country. So now she's discovering all these lies her husband was telling her, and she's trying to figure out what is going on. Why was he heading to the other side of the country? Was anything he told her about his past true? So it's really like it's like a domestic thriller, unraveling past lies, a lot of details about plane crashes and dealing with the airline and stuff after. So definitely keep that in mind, because it was hard to read, and it was also hard to read about Iris's grief. So if you've recently lost anybody, maybe put this one off for a little bit, because it was hard to read. My reason, I'd say the first like 1/3 to 2/3 of this book, really good. The last third, I didn't love. I didn't love some of the like who behind some of the things we were like trying to figure out at that time. The last like couple pages of this book, I was just like, really? That's what we're going with? I was like, really? And like I think it's the very last line. Yeah, the last few paragraphs of this, I was just sitting there, I was like, really? So if you've read this, let me know what your thoughts were on the ending. I didn't love it. And I have had the same reaction. I've read one other Kimberly Bell, and that was The Personal Assistant, and I gave that 3 stars as well. So far I'm just not, it's like, I don't know. I love the ideas for her books, but so far the execution of them has just been like average to maybe slightly below average for reads for me. Like, I don't feel like I can recommend them fully and like wholeheartedly. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. It wasn't a bad read. I don't regret reading it, but I'm not like excited to like read more from this author, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know down below in the comments, what did you read this month? What would you recommend? Have you read any of the books I talked about? What were your thoughts on them, even if they're different than mine? I love to hear what you think of the books. That's what makes it fun. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like book content. I talk about mysteries, whether it's cozy to thrillers, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!